Welcome mamas to a little practice postpartum. I'm currently 3 months or plus post cesarean. This is what I've been kind of practicing every day when I get a chance, up to 20 minutes to myself, like when I put the baby down. Right now my baby's on the mat with us, so we'll see how this goes. But yeah, I encourage you to pause when you need to and get started again. It's just special to take any time for yourself, and so yeah, granted you're able to practice if you're 6 weeks, if you had a vaginal birth, or 3 months post cesarean, as your physio or health professional recommends. Modify it as you need to, and I'll offer options. So we're gonna start seated. I usually start here and kind of check in with my breath and everything. So if you have a bolster like this or a pillow, you can sit saddle or sit with your legs crossed. And I'll just demonstrate that too. Get some fidgets out of the way, shuffle a little bit, wiggle. And then if you can, take one of the senses away, start to close the eyes down gently, or just have a soft gaze. Not really looking or using your eyes, just let that part kind of relax. And draw a deep breath in to your chest, your belly, the ribs expand, and sigh the breath out. We'll do 2 more like that. Deep breath in, letting go. Envisioning tension as you inhale, building, and then releasing. Then we'll count our breaths. I think this will help us get into our mind and activate that rest and digest response more than being up in our head. So getting into our bodies. We'll count to 4 on our inhale and exhale. So go ahead, take a long breath in and a full exhale. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, continuing with that count for 3 rounds. So this is your first one, and maybe the next 2 you might like to lengthen the exhale up to 8. And when you finish those breaths, we'll bring our attention to our pelvic floor. Just a subtle awareness again here as we're moving through poses. You want to usually engage on the exhales. That's what it naturally does. So we'll practice that movement today. So taking a huge breath in, and you might imagine your yoni is hitting cold water and you're sucking it back in, okay? But only in the pelvic floor space. So watch if your buttocks clench or your adductors or abs switch on. They might a little bit, but try to isolate that movement. So taking a huge breath in, and as you exhale, start to draw in those pelvic floor muscles, like you're closing that entrance to your vagina. And as you inhale, start to relax it down, fully softening, imagining it softening. And then exhale, start to draw the sides in together and up, 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 like you're trying to get away from cold water. And then inhale, feel it relax and spread and soften. And then just 1 more like that, drawing in and up, 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 up. And then exhale, release. And then we'll do the little quick flicks. So it's a short, quick contraction, a flutter. We'll just do 8 of them for now. So take a breath in, exhale, grab, release, grab, release, grab, release, grab, release, clench, release, clench, release, clench, release, grab, release. Couldn't think of a good word for that. So fully softening that. But you get the idea. Just practicing that every now and then throughout the day. We'll change position now, coming into toes pose or toe stretch. Sometimes toe torture. I don't like that phrase, but tuck the toes under, spread them wide, make sure the pinky toes out. So if you need to take off any pressure, just lift your hips up or just go ahead and untuck the toes. I find it's a good stretch, like if you're just around the house all day. And we will start to stretch the wrists. So place your hands together, interlace, and just do some circles, say clockwise 3 times, and then switch direction. It's gonna feel funky, back the other way. And then press your palms forward, and then stretch them up. Take a big breath in, start to draw the navel to spine, ribs coming in if they're flaring. So engaging your TA muscles. And then exhale, switch or twist to the right. Inhale back to center. And then change the overlap with the hands. And then we'll exhale to the left. Inhale back to the center. And then release the hands down. Go ahead and shake your feet out a little bit. And then we will take our right leg long, Janu-Sirsasana, half butterfly. Okay, my left knee is bent. Flex the right toes up towards the ceiling. Sit tall. You might kind of rock a little bit. Lifting up through the chest. Then exhale, drawing lower tummy muscles in. Twisting towards your left knee. Right hand up to left knee. And then your left hand stabilizing as you press into the sit bones. Lengthen high on the crown of the head. And working the rotation from the base of the spine up. So you might find in the next breath, your exhale, you could turn your head or your gaze over your shoulder. Take a moment just to reset the spine, lengthen crown of head. And then keep that rotation, but lift your left arm up towards the ceiling and then lean towards your front leg. So you might keep your hand there. It might be a lot, or you can bring your bottom hand to your toes. And again, just rolling the chest open. Maybe your top arm comes behind the crook of your neck, and you can lean your head into your hand and find a nice stretch along from your armpit down to your left hip. Taking another breath here as you exhale, and then inhale, rising back up. Face your front straight leg, breath in. And then fold over the front leg. Your hands may touch the ground beside. You take a moment to lift up the chest again, resetting the spine, and then bowing over the leg. Might have a slight bend in your right knee. That's okay too. We're not really overexerting anything or competing with our former self. We're just kind of checking out, testing the waters, and keeping our body limber for being mothers. And then inhale, coming back up. Place your left hand behind your left hip. Flash dance is what I like to call this one. And lifting your hips up, it's like a baby wild thing. All right, and then bring your right hand up to the ceiling, and we're gonna do circles for our shoulders, so the hand dips down and back. So 3, say clockwise, and then back the other way 3 times. Just getting some movement in your shoulders. Very necessary when you're feeding a baby. And we get kind of locked up in little positions, especially wintertime here in Canberra. And then you come back down, we'll switch sides. All right, so left leg will be straight. Just make sure I can face the camera. Right knee is bent. And start to lift up tall and place your left hand to right knee. Right hand can go behind your right hip. And working the rotation from base of spine up. So then the ribs will go, and then your shoulder might draw back, and you can take your gaze over the shoulder. Elongating the breath. Those baby gyms are great for when you're practicing yoga at this age with your baby. Then lifting your right arm up towards the ceiling and leaning towards your left leg. Here you might choose to bring your hand down by your foot to the floor, or you can make a headrest with your right hand behind the crook of your neck, or that dip behind your skull. And leaning into that, stretching open. Send your breath to all those tight spaces. Imagine it touching there. And you might feel it soften a little bit more as you exhale further. Inhaling again, lifting up, facing your front leg, your straight leg, and then bending towards that leg. So getting a little hammy love, hamstring love. Lift up the chest again, just to reset, and then bow over that leg. And then inhale, coming back up. Flash dance, so your right hand behind your right hip, lift your hips up. So a little stretch through there, just to release everything. And then 3 shoulder circles one way, so you might bring it forward. And then 3 back the other way. Check in with baby. If you have your baby, how you going, Bones? Buddy. And then you'll come back down when you've done those 3. Cross through the legs, come into tabletop all fours. All right, so just get secure here. Hips are over the knees. Spread your fingers wide, shoulders over the wrists. Okay, and start with some cat-cows, really gentle, so not overexerting or anything, just try to lift the chest, draw the shoulder or collarbones wide, and then exhale, press the floor away, lengthen tailbone, tuck chin. Let's do 3 rounds like that. Inhale to expand. It might not be as deep as what it was before you ever got pregnant. Exhale, round. So about 2 more in your own pace. I know it felt pretty strange getting back into cow pose after my C-section. It still feels a bit strange too. So I try not to overdo anything. And then coming back into neutral, heart melting pose. So keep your hips over the knees. Anahata asana, let the heart come towards the floor. You might let the forehead rest down. So it's kind of like a lifted up child's pose. Or you might have your chin resting on the mat. A great shoulder stretch. Take another breath here. And then exhale, come forward to Sphinx. Now Sphinx may be kind of sensitive still for your tummy. All right, tops of feet pressing on the mat. If it's too high, having your shoulder over your elbows, just walk the arms forward a little bit more. All right, try to engage your core a little bit. So drawing navel towards spine, or you feel the TA engage. So it's like you're squeezing into a tight pair of jeans. Spread the collarbones. Exhale, lower chest. Bring your hands under shoulders, tuck the toes. You can press through your knees, hips to heels, and then downward facing dog. I'll need to take my socks off for this one. So hips up and back. You can pedal out the feet a little bit if you need. Wiggling hips side to side, maybe turning your feet with them. All right. And coming to that still position. Spreading the fingertips wide, maybe have a look at that, and the wrist crease is facing forward. Armpits wrapping towards the heart. Let your head relax. Now here to balance, bring your feet closer together. Lift your right leg up. Bend your knee. Roll your hip open. Re-square the shoulders if your right shoulder is lifted higher than the left. And then bring your foot in between your hands for a low lunge. Maybe use your hand to help it get there. Let that back foot on top. And then you can walk your hands up to your knees. Maybe that feels okay. And finally, you can take your hands up overhead. We'll just stay for 2 breaths. Lengthening through the fingers. Shoulders relax. And then half Hanuman, or half splits. Hands come down. I think Bob needs some attention. Lengthen the chest forward. Flex the toes back. And then you might fold over the legs. 1 more breath. And start to shift forward. Bring your right knee back to meet left. Heart melting pose. So walk the hands forward. Take a breath in here. Exhale, come forward into Sphinx, or your version of Sphinx pose. It might be just laying on your tummy. It's nice to come back to this after having your baby. And then hands under shoulders, tuck your toes. Again, hips going back towards heels. And then lifting up for downward facing dog. Taking a couple breaths there. Maybe you need to tend to your baby or pause before we go to the other side. Wiggling the hips. Again, you can always go to child's pose instead. I'm just gonna get my baby in a better spot so she can see me. And these little bouncers, yeah, so it's a matter of changing it up in these early days. Okay, how's that, bud? Into down dog. Now we'll start to lift our left leg up. Bend the knee, roll the hip open. Square the shoulders. Then you can bring your right knee down to help the left knee come forward. All right. Letting the hips sink. And then you can bring your other hand onto the knee. Possibly both hands up overhead. 2 breaths. Lengthen through your sideways. It's like engaging up to your core. My dog's here too. Place your hands back, apply your feet, and extend your front leg. Smuggy, that's enough. Hey. We'll take a few breaths here and half splits. That's the reality of practicing at home, isn't it? Dogs barking, babies fussing. Seeing things you need to clean on the floor. Come forward. Bring your left knee back. This time we'll come to child's pose. So toes together, knees wide. Lengthen your arms forward. Let your forehead rest down. Maybe again feel into your pelvic floor space, what it's doing when you inhale and exhale. Maybe you don't notice anything, but it's good to have some awareness here. And then finishing your exhale. As you inhale, lift up. Come into downward facing dog. So reposition the knees. Align with your toes and lift hips back. And we'll slowly walk to the top of your mat. Coming into ragdoll. So bend your knees. Be generous here so that your belly can rest onto your thighs. And then you can catch the opposite elbows. And let the weight kind of drift towards your toes here. So you're supporting this so that the stretch is in your lower back rather than in your hamstrings so much. You know, when you're really tight, you could just kind of do this. Elbows on knees. My baby loves this bouncer thing. Yeah, it's good, eh? And maybe if you do feel like straightening the legs a little bit more, so you do start to come off of your belly, off your thighs, you can. Let the hands dangle by your feet. You might walk the feet a little closer together or even toes touching. And start to curl the spine up towards standing. Roll the shoulders back to the top and then stretch your arms up overhead, palms together. And then bring the hands back down in front of your heart. All right, stacking, drawing the ribs in if they're flaring out. Okay, you're trying to find your neutral spine, maybe tucking the pelvis forward and back a couple times. And then really pressing through the feet, so you're engaging from the feet up. And here you might say just a gentle prayer to yourself. May I be a patient mother. You know, whatever it is, the word you're focusing on. Connection with your cherubs. But for me lately, it's just been patience with my toddler and working their routines and being kind to myself. Just take another 2 breaths to come into that reset or whatever space you need to be in for the rest of this. And then inhale, stretch your arms up overhead. And then you can swan dive, arms out, forward fold. Hello. From here, halfway lift. So lengthen your spine. You can even place your hands to the shins. All right, long through the spine. You can bend the knees. Exhale, forward fold. Again, halfway lift. Flat back. Shoulders drawing away. Exhale, bow. Inhale, halfway lift. And from here with this flat back, we'll place our hands down, step back into a plank or a plank on your knees. I think the first one, try and plank on knees. All right, so squeezing the thighs together. All right, you can lift your feet up, okay? Kind of drag over the knees and then bend at the elbows to lower down all the way, nice and slow. Tops of feet press, come to cobra. So squeeze elbows, shoulders back, chest draws forward. And just keep your neck in a comfortable position. So maybe gaze just past your yoga mat. And then lower the chest, tuck the toes, pressing into downward facing dog. So hips back to heels, untuck the toes. 3 breaths, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, breath in, breathe it out. Inhale, rise to your toes, start to step or walk your right foot forward, then the left. Come to halfway lift. Exhale, bow. Inhale, rise all the way up to standing. And then bring your palms back together at your heart, Samasthiti. Inhale, stretch the arms up. Exhale, swan dive forward. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, stepping to your plank or your plank on knees. So I'll demonstrate with that high plank. All right, squeezing, engaging even the thighs. You might go straight to down dog instead. And then bending the elbows as you exhale to lower all the way. Inhale for cobra. Lifting the chest. And then exhale. Adho Mukha Svanasana, down dog. 3 breaths again here. You might play with rising your heels up and down. 2, 3. Inhale, rise up the toes, stepping or walking forward. Halfway lift. And forward fold. Inhale, all the way up to standing. Reaching the arms wide, palms connect together. Exhale, Samasthiti. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana, hands up. Exhale, swan dive forward. So the last sun salutation A. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, plant your hands, stepping to your plank or go back to down dog. Your version. Exhale to lower. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, downward dog. 3 breaths. So 1. Inhale, 2. Inhale, 3. Inhale, lifting up your heels, look forward, start to step or multiple steps forward. Halfway lift as you inhale, lengthen, exhale, fold. From here, come to chair pose. So sink the hips low, start to lift your gaze forward. You can bring your arms up overhead. Sinking the hips low. All right, trying to get even pressure through your whole foot. So you might find a rock forward and back to your heels. And then here, bring your arms wide. Great stretch for us feeding mothers. Interlace the fingers, lift the chest. Chest opener, breath in. And then bow. You can keep this interlace as you fold forward. Take it slow. My back always cracks here. I just love it. Take another breath in like this. You can have your knees bent. And then let the hands calm back down. Halfway lift, inhale. And then step back to your plank or plank on knees. Go through your vinyasa. We'll meet back in downward facing dog. Inhale for cobra. And then in downward facing dog, we'll just take 1 breath in together and a full exhale. Inhale, lift your right leg into the air. Exhale, step it in between your hands. And drop the back heel in about 45-degree angle. We are still facing the hips forward. Ooh, standing up for warrior 1. You can have a shorter stance if you're kind of getting back into your yoga practice. And you might widen your stance as well. So placing the hands there on the hips, just getting comfortable. Bless you, darling. And then start to lift the arms up overhead. Find some pressure through both feet, equalizing, especially the knife edge of your left foot. Bless you. We'll reach the arms wide and interlace the hands again, lifting up through the chest. And bow. So you may just come forward or you can bow a bit deeper into humble warrior. So trying here not to rest on your front thigh. I know it's easier that way, but if you can, try to dip to the inside. Still strong in your front toes.
You might notice how much you need a pedicure here. I always do, especially right now. Another full breath in, letting the head relax. Strong legs. And then you can let the hands just come down to the floor. Step your back foot in a little bit. We'll come into pyramid pose. All right, so here you may use a block or something. I've got my bolster handy. So I can use that to help myself get closer to the ground. Yeah, play around with your position. Turn both your feet forward, toes facing forward. And it's a bit of a drawing of your right hip crease back as you fold over that leg. You can start to round the spine a bit more, maybe take another breath here. And then we'll come into standing splits. So your hands could still be on the block if you need, or the bolster. Otherwise, bend that front leg and lift your left leg in the air. So I like to pretend it's like a forward fold, but you have a leg in the air. So here, it might not come very high because we're trying to keep our hips more square. So try to engage through the inner thigh, spiraling up towards the ceiling. It might not be very high. Let's take 3 breaths. So inhale for 1. Inhale for 2. Let the head relax. Inhale for 3. And then we'll walk our hands back to our foot if they were forward and lower the top leg down. Come to our low lunge, Anjaneyasana. You can walk your hands up to your knee or lengthen the hands back up towards the ceiling. Here we'll take cactus arms so the elbows come wide, drawing the chest nice and open, squeezing the shoulder blades together. Deep breath in. And then hands come down, half Hanuman, half splits. We revisit this pose. Inhale, halfway lift. Smile at baby if she's there. And then exhale, fold. 2 more breaths. Watching tension release as you exhale. Any worries. And then we'll come into half pigeon. So shift forward. Heel toe your foot across to the left side of your mat. So our right leg's forward. Hopefully you're with me on that. Right knee towards your right wrist, lengthen the chest forward. You can pause for a moment here. If you have that bolster, you can lay over the bolster. All right. And play around, so you can have your heel a bit closer to your left hip or further away, depending. Come to your forearms, rest your head down. Sometimes in my practice is a pose where I get stuck on my phone or something like that. And then I'm like, oh, I need to balance out the other side. But yeah, take your attention to that right outer hip. All right, this area to release from sitting a long time. Also feeling your left hip flexor lengthening. Let your head go, let the belly be soft. 1 more breath. And then lifting yourself up. Tuck the toes. Go straight back to downward facing dog, so stretch the right leg back. You might even like to lift your right leg back into the air, just to stretch it back out. And then let the toes come down. We'll go to the left side. Inhale, left leg up. Exhale, bring it forward for warrior 1. Hey baby, you having fun? Ooh, yeah, I'm wobbly still. But yeah, finding your position for warrior 1. So that back foot about a 45-degree angle, so it's kind of out like this, front foot forward, placing hands on hips to kind of help adjust. And feeling your deep abdominal muscles work, you might feel a little tension just there in your lower tummy muscles if it's engaging. The hands can come up. Strong back leg. My baby's looking at me like, what is she doing? She's just talking. It's all good. Circle the arms wide, interlace the fingers, and then lifting the chest still. So this nice chest opener again. Watching if you kind of dump into your spine at all. Try to keep everything a bit more stacked. And then lengthen crown of head forward. The palms, or the fingers, hands can interlace up and over your head. So it might not be very high. I'm not in trying to dip along the inside of the leg. We want to feel our legs burn a little bit, so really work from the feet up. So you can see your toes being active, outer edge of your right foot pressing, lifting the arches of your feet. And then start to let the hands come down. We'll come to pyramid, Parsvottanasana. So readjust the back foot if you need to. Get your bolster or cushion or a little chair. And a little wiggle of the hips as you start to lengthen yourself forward over the front leg. And then bow over that leg. Let your head relax. And we'll set off into standing splits. So yeah, you notice your right glute may fire up here. So bend that front leg. You can launch the leg up into the air. Hello! And spiral the inner thigh of the right leg up. That right outer hip facing down. So watch if you're kind of opening out like that, like stacking like half moon more so. You want to angle it so everything's kind of facing forward or in that one plane with your yoga mat. 3 breaths. 1, inhale. 2. 3. And then take your gaze back so you can land your back toes down, landing the knee down, and coming into Anjaneyasana or low lunge. So lengthen the arms up overhead. Cactus arms, elbows wide, chest lifting. Feeling strong. Again, watching if you're collapsing anywhere. Where can you engage and strengthen along your spine? Half Hanuman. Extend the front leg. Halfway lift, flexing the toes back if you can. You might have a slight bend in the knee again, that's okay. And then letting the head go. Softening for 2 more breaths. Counting with yourself. Finishing that exhale as you look forward, bend into the left leg again. Heel toe your foot across your mat. Towards your right hip, left knee towards left wrist. Lengthen the chest forward. Sit pretty for a bit. And then bowing over your leg. Okay. You might settle in, you might start on your forearms and find you can go a little bit deeper. Allowing yourself to have this time for yourself. It's hard to find pockets of time. But then the more you practice, you find you can't like imagine your day without it, and you make time for it. And it gives you more time because you're just mentally more there, I find, as a mother. Sitting to meditate in the morning, or even just mindfully washing your hands. I think that's a great reset you can do. And finish another round of breath, fully let go with that exhale. And then we'll lift ourselves back. If you can come through a table if you like, or come back to down dog if you want to even out that leg. So your left leg can stretch back out. And lower it down, bring your knees down, and we'll walk our feet through. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Coming onto our backs, we'll finish with a bridge pose and a little bit of abs before we make our way into a Shavasana. So you can come to your side to come onto your back if you're still kind of healing and getting familiar with your abs again. So here, if you have a block, it might be nice to place in between your thighs. I realize my baby's play gym has been up here the whole time. I'll just lay it down. All right, you can place it between your thighs, and you might just brush the backs of your heels to find that nice position. Okay, hands by your hips, engaging the block, or have an equal distance of your knees over your heels. So maybe just mentally check in there. All right, rather than the heels wide, etc. All right, start to press into the feet, lengthen your tailbone. It's like your pubic bone is coming up towards your belly button, and then start to lift your spine off the mat. Keep the gaze up towards the ceiling. You might shuffle your shoulders a little bit closer here. Taking 2 more breaths.
Pressing into the feet into the mat. And then exhale to lower down. So here you might do it with or without a block. We'll come into it again, holding up to 5 breaths. So I'll count us down as you start to press up. Here you might choose to interlace the hands to open up the chest, wiggling those shoulders a bit closer together. Check that you're breathing. 5, cutting down. 4, pressing the feet into the mat. Maybe lift the toes. 3, length through sideways. 2, heart lifting. And 1. Start to slowly lower. You can pick the heels up as you lower vertebrae by vertebrae. Hug the knees in gently. And we'll come into dead bug abs. So imagine you're in tabletop position. Knees over the hips, and you stretch your legs out and arms as much as you like to. So you'll start by reaching your right arm back and left leg long. Okay, might not be that far away, but see how you go. And then exhale, squeeze everything back to the middle. So engaging your TA muscles, your deep abdominal. Right leg goes long as you inhale, left leg long. Exhale, squeeze it back to center. Right arm long, left leg away, inhale. Exhale, squeeze it back. Try to keep your back pressing to the mat, left arm, right leg, and squeezing back. So 3 more sets at your own pace. All right, and you'll know if you've gone too far, if your spine really starts to arch a lot. Okay, trying to keep that pressure of your low back into the mat, so don't go too far. So about 2 more sets. Take your time, 1 breath per movement. If you're done, you can go ahead and stop too, if that's too many. Hug the knees in. Do some little circles when you finish. And kind of massaging, it's like a free little lower back massage. I think it feels so good. You rock the knees side to side, and we'll keep the knees hugged in. All right, and then wiggle your hips up and over to the left, and let your knees drop over to the right side. So you can have one hand maybe on your knee, one in your hip, or you can bring your hands out to cactus arms. Kind of wiggle your shoulders so that they're both grounded. You can keep the gaze up towards the ceiling, or maybe turn your gaze away from your knees. We'll take 2 deep breaths here towards our belly. Inhale, and then soften, exhale. Another one like that. I can feel a release already. And then use your arms to help guide the legs back in. And we'll set up for the other side. So you can press your feet down to help wiggle the hips over to the right. And then knees over to your left. Hand could be on your knee, or you might have your hands out cactus, gaze up towards the ceiling, or turn your gaze away for a deeper rotation happening all the way up to your cervical spine. 2 breaths in, releasing. You can sigh all the time, letting it go. And then use your hands to help the knees come back in. Maybe a final happy baby, Ananda Balasana, catching the inner soles of your feet before you make your way to Shavasana. So Shavasana, maybe legs fully extended on the mat, or if you prefer to lay on your side, often this is a pose like in a yoga class, mums and bobs, you'll breastfeed the baby on your side maybe if you can, or bottle feed, whatever it is you're doing. And take a couple moments just to get really centered. You might wiggle yourself out or make a fist, clench your feet, and then fully soften. Hands could be on your belly, your womb space, the space that's carried your baby's life for 9 months, and you're continuing to help that baby grow. Sending love to this space where all of our creativity originates, connecting here. Sometimes deep emotions can come up with our hormones that are fluctuating constantly as mothers, postpartum. Just honoring that a lot of us are all going through this as well. You're not alone. Time passes. And just take a moment. Maybe you're already planning out your day, but just offer yourself a clean slate for the rest of your evening or day, or for the next day. You visualize how you want to go to bed, what mood you want to be in, or in the morning, how you're going to be when you wake up, or how you'll be when you interact with bugs again. We'll start to come out of this space, taking a big breath, yawning the body awake. You might flex your toes and point them and stretch your arms away, rolling over to your right side. All right, before you press back up to a seat, use your hands to help you up. Yes, still being cautious. And bring the palms back in front of your heart. All right. Thanks for taking this time out for yourselves. Namaste.